Do you have sporty kids? I totally have sporty
Yep.
kids. And today, George is going to will talk us through all of the ways that we can feed sporty kids.
Yeah. Look, my kids' history, we've had like over a decade of swimming and nippers, so pretty high intensity kind of sports. Then my son went into boxing for a short time. Luckily, that phase is over. Now he is in a national squad for the Gold Coast Suns. So
Well done,
he's really full on into sport, and that training it's long and it's tough and it's late at night and it's all the things that kind of tax the human body. So today I thought we'd share just the importance of refueling, rehydrating active kids who have really busy sports schedules, because I know my kids are definitely not unique.
Yeah.
I know that lots of people, and I get asked a lot actually about feeding sporty kids. But, first, look, I wanted to just talk about, I love to help people understand what's actually happening, a bit of a anatomy kind of nerd. So muscles use glycogen, which is stored carbohydrates, for energy. So refilling the muscles' glycogen stores before and after exercise with really easily digestible, unrefined, complex carbohydrates is super important for growing bodies, and it also helps them to be able to kind of recover and rehydrate. A complete protein also is super important for building or rebuilding and repairing muscle tissue, because it is generally damaged to a degree during intense sports. So the glycogen in the muscle actually attracts water. So recovering muscles are 3 times as hungry for water as it is for glucose. So it's even more the muscle desires water even more so than glucose. So adequate hydration is really important too. So there's those 3 prongs. There's the, good quality complex carbohydrate, there's protein, and then there's hydration. So when choosing what kids should eat before and after exercise, generally a little protein, a good amount of unrefined complex carbohydrate with a high water content will accelerate that refueling and rehydration process. Carbohydrates, just to be clear, are best derived from plant sources, if possible, including fruits and vegetables, starchy root vegetables and legumes. They are really essential addition really to any active kids diet, because not only do they provide energy, like that glucose for the muscle, the energy for the muscle for endurance and also for strength, but the fruits and vegetables and the plant-based legumes also provide water, and they provide vitamins and minerals and fiber, and also antioxidants, which are super important for athletic kids as well. So the presence of these non-caloric caloric nutrients also affects the speed at which they're digested and absorbed, resulting in a much slower release of glucose into the bloodstream, which is why they're generally recommended as providing like a sustained form of energy. Refined carbohydrates, so, processed foods, these high sugar sports and energy drinks, they do not have the same benefits, and they will not benefit your child's body the same way that plant-based carbohydrates will. So some snacks for sporty kids is something I often get asked about. You pick your kids up from school, or, you're heading to a sports event, and what are you going to feed them? Look, smoothies are pretty convenient, I've always found, particularly like when you're needing something that's kind of portable that you can just put into. I've got kind of big glass jars with lids and straws. And you can, mix them up with fruits and vegetables, things like banana, berries, adding in a bit of avocado for, some good fat and fiber. Coconut water is a great addition for extra hydration. And even like something like natural unsweetened yogurt for some protein, some nuts and seeds for a bit of protein. And as I said, I generally will throw a vegetable or 2 into a smoothie as well. Beetroot is fantastic. It's really, really good for oxygenating the blood. So, it's something that a lot of pre-workout, There's pre-workout powders you can buy, often have ground beetroot in them for that reason.
Okay.
But yeah, something like beetroot. I actually have an article on the blog that is all about what vegetables hide really well in smoothies. Even like raw cauliflower hides really well in a smoothie. A whole foods-based protein powder is also quite handy just to push the protein.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, and look, there are lots of protein powders on the market. You're looking for ones with recognisable ingredients, no Franken sugars, so no strange sugars. Keep with ingredients that so most of them usually are either whey-based, so a whey-based protein, like a whey isolate, or the non-dairy ones are usually based on pea, like a pea rice. I generally would recommend like a sprouted pea and rice protein powder as a good choice. But as I said, there are so many on the market, and there are some really good choices that are more whole food based, that they, contain some ground seeds or nuts or ingredients that you recognise is the best place to start. That's another podcast entirely.
Yes, it is.
Another snack often I'll give my kids are things like homemade dips, like hummus or pesto with some raw veggies, again, just to help support that carbohydrate intake. Sometimes I'll do a bit of an antipasto plate, so it'll have like some veggie sticks, some fruit, maybe some like biltong or air-dried beef or beef sticks, meat sticks, nuts, seeds, even sometimes like a boiled egg or a buckwheat cracker with some nut butter, just like a bit of we call them snack plates in our house, and it's just literally an assortment of all sorts of things. Generally, it's born from the fact that I haven't got something prepared for them, so I just throw together lots of variety. And, on that plate, I'm a huge fan of nutritional variety as being like the kind of mainstay of ensuring that deficiencies don't occur, is just if you're eating across lots of different food groups and lots of different foods. So the snack plate is like the epitome of variety. It's all there usually. Things like chia puddings and yogurt parfaits are great. Even overnight oats are great as well. Something you can just kind of chuck in a jar and take, as I said, along to school. I also, make some of my own protein bars and just have them in the fridge or the freezer just as kind of backup. Again, there's loads of recipes on the Well Nourished site for this kind of thing. Sometimes even like a veggie kind of base soup on a bone broth base is good, or even leftovers can be really
leftovers are great.
Yeah, before training as well. Also, another thing that my son particularly likes is he loves like a quick 2-minute steak with vegetables, or a chicken schnitzel with vegetables
My son
as a meal.
the same. But my son will do it before he goes to training.
Yeah, same.
So I'm like, man, how does he do that?
Yeah.
I guess coming from yoga, and there was hours before that you didn't eat before.
Yeah. I generally will try and feed. I mean, obviously the trouble is we're living in a time pressed world. So for things like training, it's like pick up from schools at 3:30. He's got to be at training at 4:00. So I have like a 30-minute window to feed him. Sushi is another thing that often, like if we're having to pick something up on the way, or there is a couple of days after school where he just eats so much food through the course of a day. I can't even think about the snack before training because I've literally packed him an esky full of food for the rest of the day. So now that some of the boys are driving, they sometimes stop or they generally will stop after school when he goes straight to footy with them. And I'm not picking him up, and they'll buy sushi. So I think bought sushi is it's always good to have a store-bought option. For me, I think it's just so important that kids love their sport and that they do actually feel energised and strong and competitive during training and during their competitions, because, I mean, that just builds their confidence in the sport and the confidence in their body as well to perform the way that they want it to perform. And the food that they eat very much impacts on both their performance and their enjoyment. So I really believe personally that it's worth going the extra mile to make sure that they're getting the very best thing for their growing body. So just to recap, Fruits and vegetables are particularly good sources of both simple and complex carbohydrates, and they provide ample glucose to fuel sporty kids because they have that high water content. They aid in building glycogen, which is the muscle energy that we need, and those stores of glycogen. They also provide bioavailable antioxidants, which help really clear free radicals, which are formed during aerobic exercise. So that's another advantage of including fruits and vegetables, as well as providing really essential vitamins and minerals, which just, aid in overall health, but definitely in building protein and providing energy as well.
I'm so glad we're talking about this, because I know for me now, Jack's 19, and he'll do a day's work labouring. He's labouring as a concreter, and then go and do an hour at the gym, and then go and train for another hour and a half or something. And he's just focused on protein. And
it's
meat.
a bit of a and it is a real fad. Like a lot of the kids that they watch, I know on TikTok, on YouTube and stuff like that, are very protein focused.
Meat and eggs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got a nephew who, it's funny, he said to my son, "How many eggs do you eat in the morning for breakfast?" And Jesse's like, 2. And sometimes with a steak. And Joe's like, "Oh," and Jess is like, "Well, how many do you eat?" 12 eggs. 12 eggs for breakfast every single day.
Wow.
I mean, it's excessive.
That's a
in
lot.
my mind. My main thing is, like, as I said, the vegetables, I've just given him very good reasons to include vegetables. And, with Jesse, if he's cooking up a steak or a piece of protein, I just get him to break bits of broccoli or cut up some carrot and just stir fry it next to the steak while it's cooking quickly. So it's not really, maybe a bit of tamari on it for flavour and salt, like the sodium's going to help as well. But it's just getting them into that mindset of just adding how easy it is to add vegetables to a fry pan, basically. But, with getting back to like Joe and his 12 eggs, the problem with that, I don't have a problem with eggs whatsoever. I think they're an incredible source of nutrients. But when you eat anything in excess, you're crowding out an opportunity to be nourished in other ways. So he's crowding out the opportunity to be nourished with antioxidants from fruits and vegetables, for example. And really limiting the amount of nutrition that you're actually deriving from your diet if you're eating one food in excess. So that is an issue, I think. Like I said originally, protein-rich foods are essential for repairing and rebuilding muscle, especially in growing kids. So protein definitely should form part of their routine, particularly after sport, like, ensuring that you're refueling as quickly as possible after doing an excessive amount of exercise with protein is a really good idea. Refined carbohydrates, so sugary foods, things like up and goes, sports energy drinks, lollies, snow cones, they don't improve your child's energy. In fact, they'll give like a bit of a boost in energy, leaving them with quite a slump afterwards. They don't support, in my opinion, sports performance in their long-term health and well-being. In fact, quite the opposite as far as I'm concerned. So I know that for a lot of people that's kind of controversial because they're told that these sports drinks are necessary for their kids' performance.
And it can be tricky. Like I know the different sporting events. You can't, that's all that is on offer. Is sold.
Yeah,
so it can be tricky.
And look, and there are, I can remember going to AIS dietitian talking to my daughter when she was competitively swimming. And this lady just literally, all she was promoting the whole was just fuel with milk, or a milk drink, like a flavoured milk drink, and then recover with more milk. Wow. And I was listening to her thinking, what is going on here? And my daughter is not a milk drinker, so she was really put out by this bit of advice because she was like, well, I don't like milk. Like she's just naturally, I actually like milk and we eat dairy. I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. I'm just saying it's not something she enjoyed. And this dietitian wasn't able to offer her another alternative. It was just milk. When I got home, I actually did a bit of research and found out that they're heavily sponsored by Dairy Australia, like that's their primary sponsor. So often they're being paid, unfortunately, to promote. You just need to be careful.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are promoting things they have other interests in doing so.
Yeah.
And it's the same with these companies. They make a lot of money. Like the sports drink industry and the energy drink industry is massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Huge.
massive. And we're finding out more and more about some of the chemicals that are being included and how they're impacting on our health long term. So beyond the sugar, I don't believe there's nothing that can convince me that an energy drink is going to actually support your child's health long term.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it for today. Sorry, finished on my high horse. I'll get off now.